reason this lesson is easy but hard is that it's about fractions that are kind of easy when you do them with normal numbers, but it's kind of hard when there all of a sudden there's variables all over the place and they're not used to it. Let's just make sure that you get when there's just plain numbers involved. Let's do one add. That's 3/7. One subtract would be identical to add, so no point. One multiply. And one divide. That represents both add and subtract at the top, and then there's a multiply, and then there's a divide. Fundamentally, this is what we're doing, it's just that we're doing with variables in a minute. All right, Eddie, what's a good denominator for that first one? 14. Good. So I times this by 7 and 7, by 2 and by 2. And then it ends up being 7 over 14 plus 6 over 14. And that equals... Kennedy, what'd you get?
I got 13.
You are correct. 13 over 14. Okay, how about on the multiply problem? JP, did you notice that something would cancel in the multiply, or did you just make it 6/21? Either answer is okay.
I just multiplied across.
And you got 6/21?
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that they factor into 2 times 3 and 3 times 7. See how they're already factored? So when they're already factored like this, then just cancel right away. And then you get 2/7. If you said it was 6/21, you're right. You just haven't reduced yet. So you could have said 6 over 21, broke it back down into 2 times 3, which is what it was in the first place, and 3 times 7, which is what it was in the first place. And then, yeah, you could go back and cancel it that way, but it's way faster to catch it in the first place. Final answer, 2/7. And the last one, I change it to times because I just refuse. I have never done divide because I've always changed it to a times. Times 7 over 3. And now it's just 14 over 9. Raise your hand if you add 14 over 9. Good. Then that can be made into a mixed because it's 9/9 plus something else. And make this into a like 2 3/4. Do one of those. Nine ninths plus how much more? 9/9 plus 5/9. Did you realize it was 1 5/9? Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now, Tyler, how can I get this to turn back into this? What do I multiply and add and stuff?
Multiply the 1 by 9.
Yep, that times that. Add to that. Very good. And that's how you get the 14/9. Okay, cool. We've just done a review of the basics. Now, here was the most complicated kind from yesterday. 1 over 3 plus 2 over x is equal to 4. And I bet you only half of you are actually going to be able to do this. But half of you are going to remember what to multiply everything by that makes this into a super easy question. All right, please turn your attention to the problem on the board. Try that one. Hattis, do you know what to multiply by? X is correct. And if you want, you can do 2 things at the same time. It just saves a step. Truckee, what's the other thing? You also could multiply by what? The other denominator. Hint, hint.
3.
3. So I could multiply by 3x. It's the fastest way of all. And I'm fine if you just do it one step at a time. But if you multiply by 3x, here's what would happen. 3's cancel. X's cancel. And you're left with x plus 6 equals 12. Tell me that isn't an easy equation to solve now. Do you get with just one little multiply? I changed a beast into a little Bambi. Just subtract 6 and I'm done.
Wouldn't it be 12x because you times the x to the 4?
Okay, double checking. Oh, there's an x there. Okay, my bad. This isn't just, I thought it was 3 times 4 because of the x. It was 12x. Sorry. Okay, it wasn't that easy. Sometimes they get to be that easy after one step. Not this time. Now I got to subtract an x, and I guess there's going to be some work. 6 equals 11x, and then divide both sides by 11. Thank you for catching that. I read the x as a multiply sign. 6/11. One more like that. This is called clearing fractions. This is something that higher algebra, which is what you're in right now, students really need to learn before they go to pre-calc, because you're going to have this stuff in pre-calc. And you need to be the kid that knows, oh, just multiply by the denominators. No big deal. This is very similar to last time. Multiply by one simple thing. Eddie, tell me one part of the thing you're going to multiply by.
By 7.
Yep. What's the other thing?
X.
Yep. Studer, what cancels in this little part of the equation?
7.
So what do you have left?
2x.
2x. Thank you. Last time I screwed up and thought that was just a times sign. I should probably be using like an n so that doesn't happen. Then these cancel out and I get plus 7 equals 21x. Variables on both sides. There's the fast way and the slow way. The slow way is subtract 21x. Fast way is subtract 2x. 7 equals 21, 20, 19x. Divide them both by 19, and we're done. 7/19. That is a very powerful strategy. Not many people know that. Honestly, I know because I talked to some of them. People were mostly telling kids how to find common denominators and do this the long way. This is way shorter, and it's very effective in calculus too. Pre-calc and calc. Okay, so let's get to the new stuff that they want us to do today. So if they wanted us to add these together, would you agree that these two have a common denominator? Therefore, you can just add the 6x and the 4x makes 10x. And the 5 and the -1, sorry I wrote over it, but it was a -1. And you get 4. And it's all over 3. Remember, when you have a common denominator, the denominator just stays the same. And I'm done. And a lot of people think, well, what's the actual answer, though? That's the answer. The answer has to have a variable in it. They never told us what x is, so that's it. We're done. Why is this more complicated? Yes?
Because they don't have a common denominator.
Excellent. So we're going to multiply this side by, what do you think, sir? 5. And we're going to multiply this side by? Yes. Now, the devil's always in the details, so it's not too hard to know that you need a 15 denominator and that you got to multiply. But can you be really careful with finishing this, please? Everybody, finish this up. 3 times 5 is 15 on the bottom. And there's 15 on the bottom over here, so that's the easy part. The top part's harder. Taylor, what'd you get over here?
Would it be 12x minus 3?
Yep. Plus Parker, what do you get right here?
30x plus 25.
Yep. And once they have a common denominator, then, oh, it's so common for kids to go 15 plus 15 is 30. No, the denominator stays as 15. And then the 12x can go with the 30x and makes 42x. And the -3 can go with the 25 and make positive 22. there. Does that make sense to you? Okay. I'd like you to add the first ones up in about 5 seconds because they have a common denominator. And the second one here will take you a little longer. Give this one a shot. I'll pause. You'll remember 10% of what I tell you. And about 7 times as much of what you do. All right, and this one, x and 3x made 4x. 1 and negative 3 made negative 2. And the denominator is a 2, and there you go. 4x minus 2 over 2. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, cool. Question?
Simplify that to 2x minus 1.
Oh, can you simplify it? Absolutely, you could simplify it, and I love that you're thinking of that. My favorite saying is, if you can factor it, you should. So I can't believe I didn't even notice that. I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, nobody's going to think about reducing it or factoring it. And you don't want to make it complicated on them. But now 2 of you brought it up. Awesome. That both has a 2 in it. And so then I have 2x minus 1. If you're good enough at factoring to see that, that would be really good. Okay, then over 2, and then the 2's can cancel. So it's 2x minus 1, smarty pantses. Nice job. Okay, the much more complicated side. Studer, tell me something I should do.
Find a common denominator.
Good. What is a good one?
14.
Good. Now that you know it's 14, what do you got to multiply over here?
2.
Yes, and make sure you always do it to the top and the bottom because you're timesing by 2 over 2, which really is like timesing by 1, just in a more creative way. And on the other side, 7. Good. Now, once you multiply that all out, guaranteed some kid's going to screw up a negative. Just try not to let that be you. Who had 13x plus 1 over 14? Dang, what am I going to teach you then? Well, they do get a little more complicated. Now, don't despair like, what? Those are so much more complicated because actually they're really not. Don't they already have a common denominator? Yeah, they have a common denominator. So you could just keep the denominator to 6x minus 7. Add the tops. So just because the variables got a little bigger, it's the same concept. Yeah, it will get a little more complicated in a minute. But for right now, this isn't that bad. Truckee, what'd you get on the first one when you put the 3x and the 4x together, etc.?
7x minus 4.
Yep. And on this one, let's go with Connor.
10x plus 4.
That's a minus 1, I'll put a plus 4. You got it. Now, remember last time where a couple people burned me on, like, if you can factor it, you should? I'm going to just factor it for a second, and it won't take long, and I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. 5x plus 2, and then I go, is there any chance that the bottom could either have a 2 in it or a 5x plus 2 in it? And the answer is no. So therefore, I'm done. But if you can factor it, you should. I would bet money that on one of the questions on the test, kids are going to lose points. My guess is we might do like a 5% off if you do it perfectly but forget to factor it and cancel at the end. So here's how it would look. Let's say you got all done with the problem and it looked like this. X squared minus 4 over x squared plus, let me think of how this could work. Everybody act like that's the final answer to a question, but then be smart enough to know that if you can factor it, you should. So you got all done with the problem. It looks like this. Fix it so that you won't lose partial credit or all credit. Pausing for a second and give that a shot. All right. I hope you noticed it was x plus 2 and x minus 2 on top. That's the tougher one. The bottom one, I don't know, maybe the bottom kind is tougher for you. X and x, a 2. Oh, wait, I always do this. Plus and plus. And then how do you make a 2? With a 2 and a 1. And it did factor. Look at that. So I hope these become obvious to you, that and that are the same, so they cancel. X minus 2 over x plus 1. How many of you were able to come to that answer? Nice. Okay, and this one. What's different now? Marcella, you're not with me. Come back. Find this slide. There's ways teachers can tell. All right. So, JP, they don't have a common denominator. But this is a tough one. Can you tell me what to multiply by?
For the left one?
Either one. You know, like we always multiply by something to get a common denominator? Hint. What we've always been doing is we've been multiplying these together to get the common denominator. You know what I mean? If it had been a 7 and a 3, you'd just go 7 times 3, 21, right? So this one has to get multiplied by what? Right there. The other, yeah? X minus 7. The other denominator. This one, the other denominator, see? And so it's x over x. These are always the same, right? And x minus 7 over x minus 7. I know that was tricky, but do you get at the end? They both are x times x minus 7 on the bottom. Good news, you don't have to multiply the bottom. I'm totally fine with you leaving it that way because I have a rule. If you can factor it, you should. So that's factored. You can leave it as x times x minus 7. Yay. Done with the bottom. Then it just leaves the top. And I bet you can distribute this. And I bet you can distribute that and put it all together. I'm going to pause for a second while you guys give this a shot. You're multiplying the top out, and you're going to put it right here. So the final answer on this one was 5x squared plus 5x minus 14, all over x minus 7. We tried to factor it here, but it didn't work. So it was worth a try. What if some kid has x squared minus 7x on the bottom? I'm not going to mark it wrong, but you should leave them factored. It's smarter because then you can notice when things cancel. Okay, so the moral of the story. Get common denominators by multiplying by the other denominator. These are messy. Give it a shot. It's stepped up a lot since yesterday. But not that much. You can do it. See how you did. I hope you used x plus 2 right here because you always multiply by the other denominator. And this was the other denominator. See? And then what's the other denominator for this side? X. Now it's just, look at all those x's and stuff. There's a lot to multiply. But remember that I said you could leave the bottom alone. x times x plus 2. I know some of you just had to multiply it out because you just were compulsed to do it. Like, oh, I have to multiply this. No, you don't. On the top, you do. And you get x squared plus 2x plus x plus 2. And then this one's plus 3x. So all of that came from this. And this is one of those FOIL kind of problems. If you didn't catch that this is a FOIL, first, outsides, insides, lasts, I get how you might miss that, but. And then I put the 3x with the 2x. And the other x, so that's 6x, and I get x squared plus 6x plus 2 all over x times x plus 2. And then, again, I don't even know if we ever set any of these up to cancel, but do you get if this would factor and have an x plus 2 in it? That'd be pretty cool, because then I could cancel that x plus 2. But I don't think we actually did. I'm checking it, and the outside and the inside make 3x, so that's not 6x, so that doesn't factor. So then we're done. You do not have to multiply that bottom out, because if you can factor it, you should. Help me out. How many of you guys had that right before I ever said it? All right, I think you get this. So subtract, exact same thing as add. They have common denominators. It's super simple, but what do people forget? They forget to distribute this negative to both parts. Can you imagine a kid doing that? It's really common. All right, be careful with that and give me the final answer for this one. It's over 3. Don't forget to distribute the negative. Got an answer, sir? 5 squared minus 2y. And you put the plus 7 with the plus 10. It seems like it's a minus 10. 2 negatives. Positive 10, positive 7, plus 17. You are right. Nice. Then, over here, that's more complicated. Why? Common denominator. So you times top and the bottom by the other denominator. Everybody try it. And I think we're very close to done here. And then you're going to have a nice, long work time. Eduardo, tell me what to multiply by. On either the right or the left. You pick.
3 on the left.
You're right, because it's the other denominator. And then it must be 2 on the right. And then the denominator is 3 times 2 is 6. So they're both out of 6. And it's a subtract. And then that's a 15y squared. Would you have remembered to distribute it and made 15y squared plus 21? And would you have remembered to distribute this to both of them? Because that negative right there, that negative makes the 2 negative, but it makes the 10 positive. When you distribute that negative, that 10 becomes positive. So then when I times by 2, I got negative 4y plus 20. But weirdly, because I distributed the negative, it's like it's all used up. It's not here anymore. I know that negative part got tricky. We'll do another one like it in the homework. 15y squared minus 4y plus 41 all over 6. Did anybody have it before I did? A lot of people. Getting this. Okay. I feel like this is just a complete repeat of last time, so we're not doing it. And this is just subtracting, which is easy as long as you remember to distribute the negatives. That's the big thing. Try not to forget that. This is let me check. This is the one I want to end with. That is as hard as they get. Get them to have a common denominator. Be careful with the minus in the middle, because it's got to distribute. But this is what I want to end on. And then it's homework time. So seriously, please, just give me 2 more minutes on this of your full brain power. Truckee, the other denominator. So, what goes here?
X minus 4.
Yep.
And on the other side, it's x plus 1.
Yep. Now it's, can you be really careful as you multiply that all out? And honestly, I wouldn't bet my life on it. Kids are not usually super careful. If you know that that's an issue and you're kind of paranoid about it, maybe you will be. But on a test, I'd be like, oh gosh, there's going to be a lot of screw-ups on the negatives especially. Try not to be that kid. Remember me saying that at the bottom it was fine to leave it factored? Don't waste your time. I know you could multiply that. That'd be dumb. Because if you can factor it, you should. You would never be able to cancel it if it was all multiplied out. If it's factored like this, there's a chance it'll cancel. Now let's see. You guys finish up and I'll finish up too. Don't look up at the board until you're done. I almost made a big mistake right here. I almost put negative 4x with positive 3x. That is not, as much as it looks like it, that is not a positive 3x. Why not? Yes?
Because it's being subtracted.
Yes, because it's being subtracted. That negative will go on here and on there. That is called distributing the negative. You might think it needs parentheses to do that. There are what are called implied parentheses on the top of a fraction like that. So you're supposed to distribute the negative to it. So that's a negative 3x and a negative 4x makes negative 7x. And last but not least is there any normal, like just constant? And there isn't. So I guess that's it. So unless the top factors, which it doesn't, there's your answer. Did anybody beat me to it? Had the same thing? Okay. Hard question. Like that's, if you can do that and you didn't have my help, you're totally ready for the test, which is not tomorrow, don't worry. Yes?
Did you, like, already put the negative over to the 3x?
Yep, because that went with the negative 4x and the negative 3x, and that made negative 7x. Thank you for asking. All right, so you have a Schoology quiz. I'd like you to open it. Everybody get it open right now. And I'd like to start it with you. Do the first problem with you, so everybody get it open.
Isn't there? I thought it was a Schoology quiz. It's like the
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's a worksheet that is the Schoology quiz. The idea is that way you don't have to like write the problems down on scratch paper. So the worksheet is the exact questions that are on the Schoology quiz. Okay? So open up the worksheet, do it by hand, but then at the end, you type it in and the Schoology quiz tells you whether you're right or not. All right, so would you tell me the first one, Truckee? What's the first problem?
3x minus 10 in parentheses, and then over 9x squared plus 18x plus 9.
Okay.
And then it's plus, in parentheses, negative 6s plus 3. And then it's the same denominator.
At least it's got a common denominator. I was like, good Lord, this problem's impossible. That'd be a terrible first problem, I was thinking to myself. And then when you said, oh, the denominators are the same, that makes it easy. Okay, I think the Schoology quiz is going to be multiple choice. So you get a chance to do this on paper, you get the answer, and then you go find it. It's not multiple choice? Maybe I will make it multiple choice. For right now, just do the worksheet, okay? And I'm going to get the Schoology quiz done. So final answer for the first one. Negative 6x, positive 3x makes negative 3x. Negative 10, positive 3, minus 7. Over 9x squared plus 18x plus 9. Can anybody verify that? Or did I screw something up? Okay. Seeing kids nodding, it's right. Yay. Okay. These are not super easy, I agree. I know that. You know what? For today, let's keep it simple. We'll just do it on paper. There's a lot less having to retype stuff over in Schoology then, okay? So just ignore the Schoology quiz. We'll just do it on paper. And there's a few too many. Could you tell me how many there are total? Is there just 6? Okay. Then skip the 5th one. 5 is the number of grace. We'll have some grace here. Skip number 5. Yes?
Are you supposed to factor the bottom?
Yes, if you can factor it, you should. I don't think this one actually factors, though. Oh, they all have a 9 in them. Maybe it does. I'll try it. It does factor, but not, like, beautifully. This doesn't also factor and then make it cancel. That's kind of what I was hoping for. But I hear you. And a kid who left this, I wouldn't mark it wrong. A kid who got this, I might have given him extra credit. Because, like, yeah, you're supposed to, if you can factor it, you should. And you noticed. A lot of kids wouldn't notice that. So. Okay, now I'm officially done. That's it for today.